first tonight, we start with the Carlton Football Club. It's season at the crossroads. Its fan base a little disgruntled, and it got a little bit worse, it must be said, on the weekend when the CEO Brian Cook had this to say, a comment reaffirmed by one of his players today.
Do you need to make the 8 this year?
Let me think about that. I think most of our supporters would say yes. I would say if we don't make it, it's not the end of the world. But gee, I think we'd cop a bit of a backlash. Yeah.
Is it a failure if you don't make finals this year?
No, it's not a failure. I mean, every day just trying to get better and progress. I mean, if we're improving from last year as a team, not just ladder position, but our connection within the group and what we're building towards, I don't see it as a failure.
Matthew, this is a club whose members and supporters and sponsors have been waiting for more than 2 decades. Surely it's a disaster if they don't make finals this year. Are they too accepting of mediocrity?
Cara, I think you've got to be careful in Brian Cook's case. No one wants to make a big headline, and he's probably made more of a headline by saying what he said than saying, yes, we should be playing finals this year. I think that's the problem. People don't want to put themselves out there, but you don't want it then to filter down to the players. And what he has said has filtered down to Adam Cerra, and that's the last thing he'd want your players thinking that maybe it's not about finals this year. And what Cerra did say there is it's about improving, and they haven't improved this year, which we'll get to in the footy side of it.
But they only need to improve by that much to make finals because they missed out by less than a point of a percentage. So surely it is a disaster if they don't make finals.
No, I agree with you, Caro. In a football sense, it is the end of the world. I said the same on the Sunday Footy Show, and there's issues across the board, Lordo, certainly with their ball use, their scores against from turnover, and we'll speak about their development or that lack thereof coming through as well.
And the way they're playing speaks to a footy club that lacks a hard edge, and that's not hard edge language from usually bang-on brief CEO in the competition.
Which is a shame because they did play with a hard edge, didn't they? Remember, they're exploding from stoppage last year and beating teams up around the ball. They were 8-3. They have lost that weapon, and there's also some other issues as well, Lordo.
And some have said that maybe they've tried to make changes over the off-season to get away from that, but they've lost their one wood, which was their strength and power around the midfield. And
the coaching, be it senior coach or the support around him, is going to continue to be an issue, particularly while Ross Lyon succeeds with a hard edge at St Kilda, who they did overlook. Nathan Buckley had this to say in a form of conversation around the coaching setup at Carlton today.
Carlton's game is taken away from them too easily by the opposition, and Carlton don't spend enough time taking the opposition's game away from them. They think they're going to win it on talent. They think they're going to win it on ability, and they've got every right to, given what they've got at their disposal. But they don't work hard enough at taking the opposition's game away from it. And that is more than half the game of footy.
And Brisbane took the strengths away from Carlton with Cripps and Saab. I just wanted to highlight, they had the same inside 50 entries as Brisbane, but how hard they make it for themselves and how predictable they are going to these guys. So there's so many options where you get one more kick before you go long inside forward 50, and everyone's just planning for Curnow and Mackay in this situation. And here's this one from Sam Moss. Pop it over the top by hand or by foot, and then it's far easier to score, Kona, but it's just the bombing inside 50, which it's not changing. It's been slow ball, then it's quick, and then it's bombing. And apart from the West Coast game where they were witches' hats, they haven't really scored effectively all year.
It's almost like what we spoke about with Melbourne for a few years there, their lack of efficiency going inside 50, how you would feel about playing as a forward in that forward line. And you reckon they're playing with a bit of lack of confidence as well?
Yeah, being there on the night, Hutch, it was more the lack of connection between back, mids and forwards. And there's just a couple of pieces of play which had me thinking, hey, what are they trying to do here? So this was one where Silvani handballs and then McGovern's back there. And Silvani's a wing forward at this point, but gets caught back there. Charlie Cameron kicks that goal. Then moments later, it's Ollie Hollands in the back pocket. Watch when he looks up for someone to kick to. There's just nothing there for him to kick to. And then this one really got me. What's this effort from Nick Newman when you thought this is a broken team? And watch it down the ground of his effort. I thought he must have torn a hamstring here, Nick Newman. Watch his reaction after having a goal kicked on him. That was a player who lost spirit there for that moment. And that's the lack of connection which is hurting Bossy and Carlton.
And it wasn't the toughest effort they put on the field. And they are whipping the bottom teams, but really struggling against the top teams, which is symbolic of some of the issues in the team. And the debate will move to development versus selection of team versus their list in itself. It's top heavy. The CEO conceded as much on the weekend.
One of our issues is list management. It is with a lot of clubs, you know, to be honest. So we are top-ended, we're top-heavy a bit at the moment. But it's forcing us into a good habit, and that is picking up some kids. We picked up 4 or 5 really good draft picks this year. Haven't done that for a little while. I think that will be our formula for the next 2 or 3 years.
So it's interesting to hear him say that. Clearly they've maxed out their salary cap, so their only option is really to draft these kids who are on a base salary for the first 2 years. There are their recent
that would concern the
recruits.
life out of you,
100% it
Carlton
would,
fan
Hutchie, because
facing
you've
this in the
spent
finals.
every dollar for a team that is supposed to not only make finals but compete in the top 4 and for premierships. So Ollie Hollands has been one of those players, and he's not perfect. No, he's rough around the edges and his ball use at times lets him down. But geez, for a first-year player, he's having a crack. He's brought enthusiasm and he's brought effort. So Lordo, I wonder. Clearly, he's saying their strategy will be to go heavily into the draft.
And
now.
I think that unless De Koning comes for the right price, I think they let him go for high-end draft picks as well. But Hutch, we'll know in the next month. They're still 8th on the ladder, not playing well, haven't beaten anyone since Geelong. But they've got the Western Bulldogs, Collingwood, the Swans and Melbourne in the next month. So they have to win at least 2 of them if they're to play finals this year.
And we haven't yet seen Sam Walsh re-emerge as the sort of burst player that he was, which is understandable given he's coming back from injury. But there's players there that get a lot of the footy but don't impact games a lot.
Yeah, there's no
Which
doubt.
players are they?
Kerno, Akers, Hewitt. I'm not
Durden,
sure they're
there's a lot,
taking them.
there's a lot, yeah.
Cerra's not the best kick. I'm not sure that that group's taking them where they want to go.